The film begins with reports where people from the northern part of the Leningrad region tell how more than 300 people go missing each year in their forests, and when people walk in this darkness, they constantly feel that someone is following them, but because of fear they cannot turn around. There's a story going around the village that some people have seen dead people with things neatly stacked next to them. And this house tried to bypass not only people but also animals, because a long time ago, a girl hanged herself here and since then have started disappearing people. The locals believe that her spirit cannot calm down after betraying her husband, so in these parts of her nickname Limp Widow. The girl Victoria is engaged in search of living people. Today they had a training session, but Victoria was unable to save the alleged victim because the rescuers have a rule: no matter how many people are missing, if there is a survivor, it should be immediately delivered to the doctors. And since they could not save the victim, they trained to deliver him to the car. On such hikes, you should dress in brighter clothes and of course charge your cell phone to make it easier for the rescuers to find you. Reporter Christina is here for a hotline in the news. A group of volunteer rescuers, Spark, are off on another case of a missing 14-year-old boy. The younger brother returned home, but is just silent in shock. A group of rescuers, along with a reporter, set out to find him. They split up in the field and Victoria steps on a stuffed toy, then looks up and sees a naked woman in front of her. The rescuers evacuate the shocked lady who could not explain her presence at the scene. And already on the way back to the car, Christine falls down and the team leaves just as she hears strange noises from the woods and Victoria helps her get up to continue the operation. The woman stops breathing and the men try to help, but she bites one of them, after which they manage to get something that looks like hay mixed with mud out of her mouth. And in the middle of the trees, a woman screams, but as they veer out of the way, the team finds a carved figure in a tree that one of the men says means no good force, and he is greatly embarrassed by these jagged legs. The team returns to the car and Christine is very confused by the fact that everyone is sticking to the one survivor rule that they need to get to the medics, which means they need to stop looking for the boy. Classically, the car gets stuck in the mud and while the men are trying to get it out, Christina hears strange breathing from deep in the woods while Victoria draws that very strange man from a tree on the car window. They manage to get out, but next they come across rubble and the men go to saw them, as immediately in the car wakes up a woman, Zoya, who after a sip of water immediately scares the team, telling them about the monster that will not let them leave this forest. It happened before the war. A red-haired girl, the daughter of one of the peasants, strangled her husband, for which she had her legs broken with iron rods and thrown into a buried pit. The light went out and a man saw a fleeing silhouette behind a block of trees and thought it was his colleague, but he was standing nearby. Due to the lack of a way through, the guys decide to take a detour, the main thing being that they don't miss a turn. However, it turns out that there is a fork in the road, although it is not on the map. Vika and Lisha go to check one of the roads and see strange haystacks on the side of the road, but they don't dare to find out what they are and return to the car. Meanwhile, Christina tells us that in an hour it will be October 14th, the day when, according to ancient lore, the unclean powers awaken brightest, to then go into hibernation until spring. Already on the road, the driver misses a haystack and crashes into it, and when the doors open, their dog Yukon runs off deep into the woods and the team goes after him. Ilya is left to fix the car, but out of nowhere he sees Christina's feet and asks her to bring a screwdriver, but she doesn't respond in any way, so Vika shows up and the feet disappear. At the same time though, the real Christina is videotaping Andrei's story of two incidents, the first when they found a naked logger who died of asphyxiation and was completely stuffed with dirt, as if he ate it and died. And the second incident happened today, but they managed to save Zoya. The dog Yukon comes back to the car and Ilya tries to catch up, so he goes off alone into the woods while Vika watches. The guys also hear a dog whimpering from a certain hole in the ground and Lisha climbs in. At the same time Ilya brings Yukon back to the car, but Zoya understands that this is Limp Widow and Vika notices that Ilya's eyes are gloomy and the dog growls strangely at them. Zoya leaves the car, but Vika does not have time because Ilya presses on the gas. She ends up jumping out and the car ends up in the lake. At the same time Alexei finds the phone in the hole, but does not notice the boy's pale face and gets out, just as they immediately hear Vika screaming. The girl notices that Ilya gets out of the water and goes after him, but comes to an unknown house, and the team finds the drowned car and take out of the water the body is already dead Ilya. Although Vika sees Ilya from behind, who repeats her movements, she comes closer and turns him around, but his face is missing and she loses consciousness. Christina finds Zoya under the bridge, but she does not drop a word, as Vika immediately wakes up and exploring the house finds pictures of Zoya, but something attacks her, and a little later Andrew and Alexei find her in the swamp and take her to the fire. The girl talks about what she has seen and claims that Zoya is a witch, but from the men's intonation she thinks they don't believe her and they immediately go for firewood so Christina can talk to her face to face. However, all she does is question her for information in her report, as immediately they notice that Zoya simply dissolves. Vika grabs a signal pistol and goes on a search, where Zoya tells Vika that she must now save people from the lame widow and shoots herself with the signal pistol. When Christina and the guys find her, the reporter takes down the corpse and asks the killer how she's doing, but Vika no longer holds her own and the men have to separate them. Vika, in her right mind, asks to see the tape from her camera, but the tablet doesn't see the flash drive, so Alexei offers to watch the video from the phone he found earlier, and it turns out to be a video of the boy they are looking for. It shows a naked Zoya who set fire to the hay and flew away. The younger brother escaped and the older one was dragged away by the unknown. Their radios signal them to gather at a certain place, so they all head there. But Vika sees a tree with a figure on it and realizes that they are walking in circles. Suddenly Alexei soars into the sky and his body pierces the tree, pouring blood into the drawing. The guys decide to run, but they fall down the mountain and it turns out to be a buried pit, with parts of the dead people's clothes hanging everywhere and stakes sticking out on the slopes. Did you think that was the main problem? No. Suddenly Andrei's eyes are filled with gloom and he starts digging through the ground, where he finds something that drags him in. The girls manage to get out, but they are grabbed in the field and Vika manages to cut the rope that brought them together to give Christina a chance to escape. But in the field she meets herself in Vicky's clothes and water oozes from her mouth, and when the fire goes out, we are shown that Christine was saved after all, and in the mysterious house that was in the woods, Victoria herself will now protect the people. If you liked the video, subscribe to the channel and like. Do not leave these buttons without attention. Not for nothing YouTube invented them to support the authors. All are grateful for watching. Good luck, and I always say goodbye.